So, Matt, welcome to the Meetup Spot.
Thank you.
And okay, so the Meetup Spot is simple. We do a bit of questions. We hear questions regarding your work and your life, and at the end we end it with we end it with quick fire.
Cool. That sounds good.
So here we go, Matt. Are you ready?
I am ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, here we go, Matt. Tell me about yourself and your growing up story.
Yeah. So, long story short, I grew up on Vancouver Island. My parents live in Sydney, and they still have the same house that uh, I grew up in, which is a bit of a hobby farm. And I always wanted to get into film and animation. So, after high school, I went to Vancouver, studied film at Capilano University, did 2 years there. But I really wanted to get in animation because I was a huge fan of the shows Reboot and Beast Wars growing up. So eventually I became a production assistant, essentially a runner, coffee boy at a studio called Mainframe Studios, and was trying to figure out where I kind of fit in because I can't draw. I'm not built for that. But I realized production management, literally because I saw an ad on Craigslist one day to be something called a production coordinator. And that seemed cool to me because you're just helping manage teams. And from there, I just worked my way up to becoming a production manager on uh, Snoopy, and I worked on uh, Chip and Potato, a preschool show, as well as doing a bit of visual effects stuff like John Wick 4 and Black Panther. But I always like animation. Unfortunately, the industry busted and it's never come back the same. About 3 years ago, so I was put out of work, like 2/3 of people I know, and so then I just started making my own content, kind of out of frustration, but also mainly I was out of excuses not to.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I think I have like three follow-up questions.
Yeah.
So Matt, what is a hobby
Oh, hobby. So it's honestly, we have a couple cows and four sheep every couple of years, and a huge part of that is because my dad and mom grew up on farms, but also you get a big tax write-off if it's a hobby farm, so they save a lot of money on property taxes. But it's also because they like doing it, and we use the livestock as well, so they have a good life, and then we eat them.
Oh, okay. And what is your favorite animation growing up?
Oh, I was definitely loved Dragon Ball Z. That was a huge influence, and because I was at the right age, as well as like Reboot and Beast Wars, like I mentioned.
Okay, and you mentioned that the industry you're at was not the same. Can you explain me why? Explain to me why?
Yeah, so it's basically death by a thousand cuts.
Oh,
You have the streamers overbought during the pandemic because everyone was at home watching animation and other stuff. Um, Obviously, we have AI now. Also, a lot of work has been shipped to India because it's cheaper to get it done in India. But also, the whole industry is changing. Like people right now watching this on YouTube, that's the future. And people watching stuff on their phones, whether we like it or not, network TV is dying, and so that's why I think you're smart to, you know, get in the podcast game, or something that's more accessible. Because I wouldn't recommend anyone going and working commercially anymore. Which I hate to say, because 5 years ago was a completely different story. But this is just going to continue to be more TikTok and YouTube as network TV continues to die, especially as you and I and people younger grow up older. Like the viewing habits change, and people are just having shorter attention spans.
and do you think it can get better? Do you think it can better or it can go back to what it was?
I a good analogy my friend Colin told me, because he used to work making commercials, like with small teams. Um, it's like working at the printing press when computers are available. and I don't think it'll ever be the same. It's like trying to have a dam about to break, and then network TV is putting tape on the dam, but it's not gonna that tape's not gonna last. And once that dam's broken, which I think it already is, there's no going back.
Ouch. Oh, okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, well, first of all, that's kind that's kind of sad.
It is. I think people will always want to go to the movies, and there'll still be, that kind of stuff. But we're losing mid-budget, like the $30 million comedy, for example,
Oh,
where obviously people are still going and seeing the latest Marvel movie, and people, I think, will still be going to cinemas. But again, I think just people's viewing habits are changing, and it doesn't help that the economy's bad, no one has money, and it's expensive to take a whole family out to the movie theater. So it's got to be like, if you have kids, obviously you're going to go see Minecraft or whatever. But I think people are just going to do it less.
oh, I see. So, Matt, why do you do what you do?
It keeps me sane. I like telling stories, and it keeps me out of trouble for the most part.
Oh, okay, keeps you out of trouble. Interesting, interesting. And Matt, what kind of mindset did you have when you first started doing this work you're doing, this goal you're doing?
Yeah, so I started doing like a couple of years ago. I did a show called Talk Show with Matt Enright, and it was basically similar to your show, where it's just finding, like, I like people who kind of live on the fringe. That's kind of my favorite thing. But it started with just interviewing friends I knew who were interesting. So like Joel McCarthy, who's a famous director in Vancouver, who runs a big film festival called the Run and Gun, was my
Oh,
first guest. But then I started doing in-person interviews, especially once COVID kind of receded. So I think my first in-person interview was a woman named Michelle who has an animal sanctuary in Duncan here. And once I did that, it was like, oh, there's sort of no going back, because not only did I got awesome footage of all these cute animals, but just when you're, you know, eye to eye with a different person, it's just kind of a different vibe, different feeling, more personal. And I think you get to kind of know the person a bit better. And so, yeah, since then, I've done more documentary style kind of content.
nice, nice, nice. And you mentioned Run and Gun. Did you have you ever been to the Run and Gun Film Festival?
No, I want to. I live in
Oh,
Victoria now, but I one day I'd like to go and maybe just help with some social media stuff. But I haven't, unfortunately.
okay. Oh, okay. So I think, although to clarify the question I was asking earlier, what kind of mindset did you have? Mindset.
Hmm. Well, you got to be flexible, first of all, because stuff will always, unexpected issues are always going to come up, whether it's a simple reschedule or when I was doing Docked, which is the Storyhive project, I had a hard drive I bought used off Amazon. And then the night I was supposed to deliver, everything just went haywire. Like, it just stopped working, and I contacted Adobe. I contacted all my friends, like, reach out to anyone I knew. And I was having a meltdown having lunch with my mom because there was other life stuff going on, and wanted to deliver these episodes on time, and then here everything is corrupted, and I didn't have a backup. So always have a backup of your backups for that reason. And then my mom's like, "Oh, you should contact Colin Richards, who's a co-producer on Docked, who's the manager at the doc." And he says, "Well, you got it off Amazon used." Like, we went through everything, and he's like, "The issue is you might have got a corrupted hard drive off Amazon." And that was the last thing I would have sort of guessed wouldn't work. So anyway, I was able to kind of go back, and, I was still about 2 days late, but I was able to kind of retrieve most of the project. But it's just one of those things that you don't plan for that goes wrong, and stuff always will, and you just got to be prepared for it. And the other thing is, I just like to get to know the person. Like my whole goal is telling a story authentically and honestly, hopefully entertaining with a bit of humor, but also include the best parts of someone's story. But I want to know their darkest moments as well.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. What helped you what helped you get started in filmmaking?
Um, I honestly just had an old camera from college, a Canon 60D, which is probably almost 20 years old now, but that was enough to get me going. And like I said, it was kind of out of frustration, out of not being able to work professionally. But it gave me a kick in the butt because I always used the excuse of working, 9 to 6, Monday to Friday, usually longer, as an excuse not to make my own content because I knew I'd have to be in front of the camera, which I hadn't done a lot of before, and it was scary at first, but also really fun. And it's a good when you're making your own stuff. It's a good way to make mistakes and learn how to get better.
Got it. Got it. So I guess you're enjoying this, eh?
Yeah, most of the time. Sometimes you want to pull your hair out, but I'd say that's about 10% of the time. The other 90% is fun, especially like the actual interview portions when I get to talk to a guest, like talking to you. I find that's the most fun. I love editing too, but editing can be a bit of a pain in the butt just because it takes so long, as you probably know. And I've gotten quicker at it thanks to editing Docked. But it's kind of equally my favorite part. And certain days I don't hate it, but there's just no fast way to do it.
Ah, okay. So you made a documentary about your barber and Little Barbershop Horrors. At first, how
Yeah,
did you meet him and how did that relationship grow?
yeah. So that was sort of the first success, I want to say. So Daryl is an interesting cat, and I definitely recommend people either watch it or listen to it. He started cutting hair. He was a street punk in Montreal in his younger days, and he got into a lot of trouble to the point where he was sent to a rehab in Utah run by Mormons. That's a whole story within itself. But he needed direction because he was doing he was abusing substances, and so he was trying to figure out what to do, and he started getting tattoos of all things. He tried everything else, AA and all the other things, and nothing kind of clicked. And then he got his first tattoo one day, and for some reason, it kind of made him forget about using. And so he kept on getting more and more tattoos till ultimately he was in a better place in his life. But then he knew he needed a job. So he went to barber school and he started cutting hair out of his apartment. Um, and so how he sort of got more success with that is he posted on Instagram, you get a free beer with every haircut. And he boosted that. And that's what started to give him a reoccurring clientele. So I'm pretty sure originally I just saw an Instagram post and went in and got a haircut, loved the haircut. And, he's a very cool guy. And now he's got his own shop in downtown Victoria on Fort Street. And that's a really, really cool shop. It's like 70s horror themed with punk rock. So you go in there and it's almost like a museum. There's just so much art on the walls. It's really cool. And I thought like, oh, he'd be a really cool guest to talk to. So, I asked him about it and he was a little hesitant at first, but then he's like, okay, let's do it. He has there's stuff in his story that is sensitive. And so, I wanted to be careful with how we approach that. But as soon as we started doing the interview and got into it, he got, very comfortable, and it helped that he knew me already. And yeah, long story short, we cut the doc and we premiered it here, had an awesome screening. And we also got a nice write up from Victoria Buzz, which is like a local digital news place. And then later, Global News contacted us and believe it's called This is BC with Jay Durant. And so they did a nice little, 2-minute segment on us. And so getting that kind of feedback was really encouraging, especially as a guy who's dipping his toes into filmmaking for the first time, really, since I was in college. And it kind of gave me the encouragement I needed to, keep going and knew I was maybe onto something.
Nice, nice. Does he still do free beer with with the haircut?
No, you can't. So I'm not sure how legal that was back in the day. This is probably about 4 years ago now. So unfortunately not. But he has a cool shop with a dog and a cool coworker. So um, yeah,
I think he can still do it again, but with soda.
yeah.
But if he does that, he might compete with Tommy Guns, which they do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
soda or drink free soda or drink after a haircut. That's it.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, he's got like all kinds of like free stickers and swag he gives away, but yeah, I don't know if he'll do the drink thing again.
Okay, first of all, that's an interesting haircut place he did. 70s,
Yeah,
yeah, 70s themed haircut. Nice.
yeah, it's really, really cool. I definitely recommend people, Google it or check out the doc just to check out the place because it's very much his own. It's like you're almost inside his head, and it's the kind of place, you or I might dream to have, like the kind of office where it's, got our favorite art everywhere and the stuff that inspires us. And he's always adding more stuff, and a lot of it is just from thrift store finds.
Oh, nice. Nice. Okay, okay. Matt, tell us about the doc.
Yeah, so the doc, this is a very unique place. I initially found out about this place because I came in for a job interview that I didn't get, but I heard I really like Colin, the manager, and they have a volunteer program here. So basically, you volunteer 5 hours a week. You'll have like a designated shift, and just work reception and clean out the dishwasher and just do little odd tasks that come up. And with that, you get 24-hour access. So in Victoria, it's really great to have a clean toilet, coffee, there's a shower, and just a place to drop off your stuff if you need to. Like, I don't always want to lug my computer with me everywhere. And as a guy in his 30s, I thought it'd be a good way to network and make new friends because, I'm at that age where people are having families or moving away. And I had just, relatively recently moved back from Vancouver, and yeah, I thought it'd be a good way to meet people, which it has been. And also, I was working remotely, and I was ultimately terminated from a job, rightfully so, because after a couple of years of doing it, I kind of just had a meltdown and could not really do it properly anymore. Had I known about this place, I would have just come here 3 or 4 days a week and probably would have been fine.
Okay, so what are the good things to know about the doc?
Yeah, so it's a co-working space. So you get a wide variety of people, like students. There's a lot of nonprofits. You get people who will come in here, maybe just be here for a week because they're out of town, or you get people who've been here for years and years and years. Like we have one of uh, Canada's most famous lawyers who works upstairs. Really cool guy. He's got like not your typical lawyer. He's got tattoos on him, and he focuses on Native rights and advocation. And he's a really interesting guy because you can have a private office like this. Most of the offices are nicer. Disregard the lighting here, but he likes being out in the open because it just kind of helps him work, I guess. And I totally get that because I came from, more mainly television background where I was, even as a production manager, sort of in the middle of the chaos. And that's what I was used to. So now when I edit projects, I kind of got my little spot over there, and it's kind of in the one of the busier areas, and that's how I work best. And you know, you get to meet all the people coming in, and you get to know whether people are here long term or short term. You get to know kind of everyone's story, and everyone's got a different story, but it's always interesting.
So what was the process for you when you applied for the Storyhive $10,000 grant? Did you feel nervous?
Not really. So the with Storyhive, their big thing, which I think you should definitely apply for, and I've got
I am.
some stuff I want to talk to you about after, is their main focus was on community. And I was kind of like, oh, 10,000. Like the idea would be to get the money, buy some new equipment that I can use for future projects. So it was kind of a no-brainer because I was at the dock. It's a rotating, you know, rotating people every day there might be someone new. So really, you could do the show forever and never run out of stories. And I thought like, okay, if they want community, baby, like I got community for them. And yeah, just made a pitch trailer talking about the show. And luckily, the doc itself had lots of photos and footage I could sort of pull from to for the initial pitch video, and sent it. And waited for a couple months, and then found out we got the grant. So we were very excited. A, because I want to promote the doc and co-working because they've been very, very, very good to me, and but also greedily I could get some new equipment.
Oh, nice, nice. And did you get to keep the stuff you bought with the grant?
Yeah, so I want to just say my experience with Storyhive is nothing but positive. They were hands off on the project creatively. The only thing that is a thing that you can't change is it's got to be family friendly, and you can't use like copyrighted material. So, for example, in the first episode, I kind of wanted to test what I could get away with, and so I put in a photo of Blade Runner because we talk about Blade Runner for like a little bit. And so when I got the feedback, it was really good notes. It was just use less B-roll, and you can't use, Blade Runner because you don't own the rights to it, which makes sense and is fair. And they were right on the less B-roll as well. At the time, I didn't want to take that note, but then as I got deeper into the project, I realized like, oh, I see what they were saying. It's good to let the conversations breathe a lot of the time, and then obviously have B-roll when appropriate, or images. But yeah, they're both awesome notes, and I recommend anyone apply, even if you've never made a show before, because they were nothing but supportive. And basically, just get put in a Slack. If you have issues that come up, you have like a production manager from TELUS that you deal with. Like, for example, when my hard drive broke, I was told her like I can't deliver on time. But yeah, they were super supportive, super helpful, and yeah, I definitely recommend anyone apply. And
Okay.
there's a good chance you get it. Like, I don't know how many people applied when I did last year, but I know it was about 76 or 77 projects got picked. So I really do think if you've got a good idea and just go for it, there's a good chance you'll get it.
Thanks. And okay, and I forgot what my follow-up question was. Okay, okay, sorry about that. How
No,
did
no
it feel?
worries. I
Okay.
got it. I got it right here if we need it.
Oh wow! You printed it out.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
Syria, where's the process when you applied for the $10,000 grant? Did you feel nervous? Yeah, I want to talk about the application because that might be good to know too. So basically, when you apply, you make a 1 minute pitch video. Helps to make it social media friendly, but try and just sort of encapsulate what you're trying to do with the show. And then you do like a budget breakdown. So I think it was like 10 or 12 grand. I can't even remember now. But so there's a certain amount you can use for production, like a director, producer. And then there's a certain amount you can use for equipment or equipment rentals, and then as well as post production. So part of the process is um, sending them that budget, which is just on their website when you go to apply. In reality, I didn't follow that at all because stuff changes as you get deeper into the show. So, you know, my initial budget breakdown is doesn't match what we actually did, but that doesn't matter. And then also you need a good summary for the show, like your intent, um, why it helps with community, that kind of thing. So you need a really solid summary as well. And then, like, I think too, if I can remember, you break down. So they want 10 or no, 8 episodes, and sort of what you plan on doing for each episode. Again, that gets thrown out the window as soon as you go into production, but that's just part of the application process. So just be aware of that.
Okay. Okay. Two follow-up questions. Did you have any crew, and how many crew did you have, and what were they?
Yeah, so Colin helped me a lot, just in terms of I didn't know anything about lighting or, because I was a production guy. I gave in white balance. Like I haven't done that since college. So I was lacking much of the technical skills. On top of that, there were people I hired, especially an editor. That was the big thing. And what happened with that, he did give me good advice, early on, but uh, I was gonna, hire him to do at least like an assembly edit. So get it mostly in shape, and then I can go in there and just, add in some creative flourish or kind of add in my voice. And then 2 weeks before the first episode was due, I messaged him like, "Hey man, like, how's the episode going?" And he hadn't started it. And
Oh,
that's when I started to panic. And there was just not much time to, because I wanted to do like a proper sort of documentary style, like rather than the standard podcast. So, it's a bit more ambitious than the standard podcast. And so I had to pull the cord and be like, thank you, but I gotta, edit it to get it in on time because you know, I didn't want to wait any longer. And so that's when I ended up having to edit the entire show. In terms of crew here, again, I had sort of camera people hired and then people flaked last minute. And so for the most part, I had to be a one-man show. However, I want to say Colin helped me a lot of the way, especially initially in terms of shooting the right way and a setup. And then a lot of the dock hands helped me as well, sort of as I needed. Might just be getting a frame of someone before the guest comes in. But I had a lot of help internally from just a whole wide mix of people. But mainly it was myself and occasionally Colin.
okay. And did you have a woman who, I'm sorry, did you have a woman who helped you with your show? Because looking at the requirements for for Storyhive, you need one woman.
I mean, I did have a co-director on. There was one episode we did with a nonprofit called Scale Collaborative, and they're the ones who run and own the doc. And that was 3 different people. So Zoe Yanker, she writes articles for an online publication. Anyway, she was a journalist, really cool woman, and she helped me direct the more ambitious episode.
Okay. Okay. Also, 10-minute warning because this is a pre-Zoom.
Oh,
Really,
yeah, we can always hop back on too. It's all good.
oh, okay. You're okay with that?
Yeah, totally.
All right. Okay. This is going to be the second time that happened. Um, okay. So here we go. How did it feel interviewing your fellow colleagues in your podcast?
It was cool. Some people I knew well, like Colin Richards, is the first episode is probably the best example where he was like a genuine friend. Sorry, excuse me. Same with
Yeah.
Adam Heigler. There were certain people. Sorry, there were certain people I was friends with, but for the most part, I didn't know most of the people, or I knew of them, but not well. And that was one of the good things I wasn't expecting that came out of making this show is, as I got to know these people better, I become friends with a lot of them, especially there was a musician named Daniel Morel, and he's got an interesting story where he was kicked out of his house in Quebec at the age of 16. Basically, he got a backpack and like $100, and his grandpa told him to, go figure something out. And so he lived sort of a vagabond lifestyle. But one day, when he was having a very dark moment, um, he was walking along train tracks and he found a harmonica, this thing shining on the train tracks. So he picked it up and started to play. Kind of self-taught himself, but it gave him direction similar to Daryl that he needed to um, pull himself out of sort of the negative situation he was in. And so he became, a professional musician. So he's played in trios, he's played solo. He's definitely amazing. Check him out. And we became good buddies. And so now it's cool because he takes me to all these open mics I didn't know about in Victoria. And a lot of these open mics, you have professional musicians just there for the love of the craft, and it's really cool just watching the support they had for each other, whether they were an amateur or a 20-year-old vet. And it's just a scene in Victoria that, like, I know a bit about the music scene and in it a bit here, but it opened the door for a lot of cool stuff I wouldn't have experienced otherwise.
Okay. Oh, and and speaking of the last question, are you thinking of applying again for another season?
I think not, because I want full creative control of the show. And I've kind of moved on to another project, which I can tell you about. But I
Oh,
do want to do like a 4 episode, rather than doing 10 episodes, because that's a lot, trust me. But in the new year, once I have a bit of a break and continue on my other project, I think I'll be ready to interview some other people. So, for example, something we couldn't necessarily do in the first season is there's a young woman here, just the sweetest girl, just, super tiny student at UVic, but she's also a pole dancer. And so I went and saw uh, their show one night. They do a show once a month with their partner, and holy crap, man, I couldn't believe the things she could do on the pole, and also just the guns she had that I kind of just never noticed before. And it was like, oh, okay, there's a lot of layers to peel here, and that's an example of one episode I'd like to do if she was up for it, because I think it shows sort of the duality of a person. Um, and yeah, I'll definitely apply for grants in the future for other projects, but I want to move on to stuff that's not so family friendly. And so at
wow.
least for the next season of Storyhive, probably what I want to do isn't necessarily going to fit with their requirements.
Okay. So basically, you're still doing another Storyhive grant, or is
No,
that?
I'm not. No, I'm gonna, now that I have the basic equipment, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us your other project?
Yeah, so there's the most famous street performer in Victoria is a guy named Randy McCormick, and he's known as Darth Fiddler. And so for 20 years, he dresses up as Darth Vader, and he plays fiddle downtown a couple nights of the week. So he's got a crazy story, and it's really about his early days growing up in um, is it Prince Edward Island? Yeah, Prince Edward Island, and being a punk, because there was about 20 punks back in the day when he grew up there. And so it's sort of more the story of his early days as a punk, living in a smaller spot like that. And then ultimately, you know, his move to Victoria. And there's all kinds of stuff there. Like, he was assaulted 15 years ago that left some permanent damage. And there's certain stuff that makes it not necessarily Storyhive appropriate, which is why I'm just gonna do it on my own. But it's a really cool story, and he normally doesn't do interviews. Like he's a very shy person, but his partner looked up punk rock barbershop and said, you should at least talk to this guy, and see if something clicks. And so, yeah, long story short, we shot the doc. I'm in post now, and what I really want to do is, potentially apply for a grant to go and make it more of a film and reenact key moments from his early days and get, some actors. So that's sort of the dream. But I've just got to sort of finish the rough cut now to show to Randy and his partner. But it's really cool. It's got everything, a lot of punk rock, and it's a love story. It's kind of tragic. But also uplifting. So I can't wait to release that. And this is something a bit more serious. I might hold on and send to festivals and stuff like that. But I've got to finish it first. So that's the main thing.
Oh, okay. This is man. This is man. That was ambitious.
Yeah, and the funny thing is he performs like a block away from my barber, so it was very easy to like, walk 300 feet and then ask him. So it's sort of a lot of similar themes to punk rock barbershop, but I want to make it much more ambitious and bigger.
Okay. So it seems that we're almost it's almost remaining it's almost like less than 2 minutes. So so we're gonna do another Zoom link to finish the questions
Yeah, that'd be great.
for it again. Okay, so I guess let's continue. Thank you for wanting to continue this. Thank you for wanting another 40
Oh
minutes.
no, it's cool to be on a podcast. I think this is like this only the second one I've ever been, so I can't wait. I thought you just wanted advice on Storyhive, so I'm stoked that it's like I get to be on your show.
Well, honestly, you can give me advice on Storyhive after. I
Yeah.
mean, we'll still on or something like that. Okay, so here we go. Let's before I do the last two questions, I want to go to the backup questions.
Hmm.
Okay, you consider working for Rick and Morty a childhood dream. How did you get introduced to it, and what's the best part of being a line producer for it?
I thought it was my childhood dream. So, the studio, I don't know if they still do it at the same studio or not, but it was called Bardell in Vancouver. And so we're essentially service. So we get the animatics and all the creative is done in LA. And then we would go and um, animate it essentially, or get it to a good place. And the team's great because they were a well-oiled machine, but they would underbid the show, and as a result that would lead into a lot of long nights and weekend work. And because I was the only one based in Vancouver and eventually Victoria, I think I did that remotely from my parents' house. I'd be sending stuff at like 3 in the morning on a Sunday, like shots to get it approved, and then would have to be, up and at 'em 9 a.m. The next day to do more work. And I had employees crying to me because they have to work another weekend because it was mandated, because they couldn't see their families again. So ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to work on an Adult Swim cartoon. And unfortunately, the reality in that situation was different. And so luckily, I didn't have to manage the budget on Rick and Morty. The former line producer did that. But I don't think I was necessarily prepared for that and for the role. What ended up actually being the funnest projects that, it's one of those things you look back and you're like, I wish I knew these were the best days, everything's in hindsight, was a kindergarten show called Chip and Potato on Netflix, as well as Snoopy. Because the studio was really good, called Wild Brain, based in Vancouver, and they have other locations. And also the bosses were very, very good. So the first boss I had was Brian Heindinger on Chip and Potato. and then Kimberly Small on the Snoopy Show and Snoopy in Space, and a bunch of shorts. And I, I just felt the teams gelled really well. It was the first time, especially on Chip and Potato, that I was a production manager. And so my boss had to go at the time to LA for a week. And so all of a sudden, here I'm a 28-year-old in charge of this giant team of 80 people. So I definitely had that what do you call it, imposter syndrome. Yeah, even though I've been a coordinator for 8 years or 7 years. But I felt good. I think I did the job well, eventually, as I learned how to do the job. And those two shows were so much fun, and I look back at those as my most favorite stuff I've ever worked on. But I think when you're working on commercial projects like that, you don't necessarily know what's going to end up really great and what might be a bit of a nightmare. And it all comes from the boss top down. So if you have a good boss, people feed off that and they make you want to do better, and to trust people to do their jobs and do them well. And the whole crew for both shows were equally amazing. So that's the reality.
Okay. And did you grow up watching Adult Swim when you were young?
So we didn't have Adult Swim, at least I didn't growing up, but we had a similar thing on Teletoon called Teletoon at Night. They
Oh,
didn't show as much anime, but they would show some nuttier stuff. And then
oh, okay.
similarly on YTV, which it still exists, Teletoon doesn't. They would also have more adult programming late at night, so like Gundam Wing and other stuff that wasn't appropriate for, say, 12-year-olds. So that, and also the Space Channel, which I think is gone now too. They would have, back in the day when anime wasn't mainstream, they'd be hosting like playing Akira late at night, and so it was so cool as like a 10-year-old to be watching this adult violent anime, and realize like, oh, animation is for everybody. So that was a huge influence. The funny thing is, my mom, when I was younger, like maybe 12, she's like, oh, you're not allowed to watch South Park because it's too dirty. So what happens when your parents tell you not to do something? You do it twice as hard. So you just go watch it at, you just do it at watch it at your friend's house, but that it's not like it didn't make me a crazy kid or whatever. Jackass similarly wasn't allowed to watch that, so of course I watched that. Um, so yeah, those were definitely some things that inspired me.
Okay. And what was your work as line producer like?
Yeah, I'll talk to the production manager role just because I was only a line producer on Rick and Morty, whereas I've been a production manager for longer.
Hmm.
And so, and I'll talk about line producer after too, but as a production manager, you have production coordinators underneath you, and above you is the line producer. So each coordinator will look after a different department. So for animation, one person will do storyboards, another person will do the animation portion, and then there's effects and comp. And generally have amazing coordinators, and they just manage to keep the shots going through. They use a program called Shot Grid, which is universally used for animation to keep track of a shot from beginning to end. And basically, they come to you if any issues come up. You try and solve the problem together. And if you can't, or if it's above kind of, if you think you should let the line producer know because it's going to affect things on a grander level, then you talk to the line producer. But the line producer generally deals with the clients more, whereas the PM and coordinators are on the ground floor.
I
Oh,
see.
and yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. And you get to work on these Hollywood movies like John Wick or Thor Ragnarok. What were the experience for it? And did you get to see the cast members?
No, because we just did visual effects. So essentially, when you're a vendor for visual effects, you'll get like a chunk of the movie. So, maybe you'll do the first 10 minutes or a sequence, because maybe everything's happening in a castle and you've got CG vampires coming down. So generally, like one vendor will take that to completion. And for a big movie, you might have anywhere between 2 to 10 vendors. So basically, just working on a section. It's not glamorous, but it's not too dissimilar from animation either. I just found with animation, it was more fun and the crews have more fun. And generally, there'd be less overtime. Like when I began in the industry, overtime was the norm. You'd be lucky if you got a meal. A lot of it was unpaid. And thankfully, a lot of that has changed now, especially as I got to see the industry shift as people wanted better working conditions.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. What were your early years of filmmaking like?
Yeah, so probably in high school, we had what was called a digital media class, as well as we had an art class. And basically, I just run around with a camera, like back when we had DV tapes. And in both instances, the teachers kind of let me do whatever because I knew that's what I would work hardest at. So that was my earliest exposure of just, grabbing your friends. And I did something called Sydney Sunshine that you can watch on YouTube, which is one of my very first things. And there was no script. It was kind of improv, just about my best friend George having a humiliating video go on YouTube back in the earliest of YouTube days, and basically just has a bad day at school as everybody makes fun of him, and that was fun. Now if I would do something like that, we'd have at least a skeleton of a script. But I do really, really like improv and want to get back into doing more comedy shorts. Originally, my YouTube channel was supposed to be nothing but comedy, and it kind of shifted more into documentary journalism. But I still want to do the comedy stuff. But yeah, that was my earliest exposure. And the reason why I went to film school, a lot of it, like so many people, was like Quentin Tarantino. And growing up with all his movies, it was like, oh, this is different. This is cool. Especially like Kill Bill was a big inspiration. And I had to really convince my mom to let me watch that at a young age because it was very violent, cartoony violence. But because it was Quentin Tarantino, she caved because he's the king.
See, I see. And you worked in various film jobs all over the years. What have you gained in these experiences?
Oh, I definitely had. I look back at it fondly. Like had a lot of fun. Still having fun. Best experiences or just having good crews, and being able to support myself financially with what was a unique job, which again doesn't really exist anymore.
I see. And what is your advice for, well, not just for me, but for everyone thinking of applying for a Storyhive grant?
Yeah, if you have got an idea, just do it. Definitely cater to the community parks. That's kind of what they're looking for, and there's all kinds of cool ideas that came up. Like my favorite one that I saw, that wasn't mine was it was I forget the title. Is that Cabby something Cabby Tales? But essentially, the guest and the host would get in, one of those biker caddies, and they just bike around Victoria, and they would do the whole podcast on a moving bicycle. And I just thought that was such a cool, novel concept, and like simplicity too. Like just do something well. Keep it simple because it's always going to be a lot more work than you initially think. And yeah, even if you have the slightest crumb of that idea, just go and apply. Because like I said, a lot of projects do get greenlit, and I think just go for it.
Okay, that's a good one. And here we go. The last. Okay, here we go. I think the last two questions. Right now, it's tough for people these days to find jobs. If they want to go the same path as you, what are the things they can do right now to practice?
There is no jobs, and there won't be anymore. Like,
Ouch.
so that's the reality. However, I do think YouTube is the future, and so just start doing shorts, make podcasts, do short format stuff. Even TikTok. Short formats really good, and just start shooting, because the only way you get better is actually by doing it. It's one thing to kind of be like, oh, I've got this idea, and you sit on it forever and never do anything with it. Where if you do it, no matter what, it's never going to be as good as you want, but you gain so much experience through just making it and meeting people that it's almost important to learn how to learn rather than like nailing it right off the bat. Because you're not, even if you're a absolute pro, you're never going to be completely satisfied.
Okay. And they're bringing Vine back. What are your thoughts of it?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I never used Vine growing up, but actually, one of my directors on Snoopy named Rid Sorensen, he was Vine famous back in the day, to the point where you can still see compilations of his vines on YouTube. And so, yeah, I think maybe it's something I gotta try that I just never thought of before. Because why not, right? Like you never know what's gonna hit in this industry. I do think you just gotta throw spaghetti against the wall. Like when I make content, I'll clip it, which I want to definitely talk to you about after, and I throw it on everything. I've got a Instagram account called Matt Enright Media, obviously YouTube, Spotify, and all the podcast platforms. TikTok, which I was very hesitant against at first because I'm not a TikToker. I don't really dance. I've never used it. But then I started throwing stuff off on TikTok and started seeing those views come in. I'm like, well, I changed my tune on TikTok pretty quickly. So I've never like don't have it on my phone, but basically I upload it on my computer, sit and wait, and I'll occasionally check in views, and that's all I use TikTok for. But it's great because I figure if you get 1 out of 100 people, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube Shorts or sorry, did I say TikTok? Yeah, any of those, if you get 1 out of 100 people to like watch your full episode because of that, I think that's super valuable.
I see. Okay. And what does the work you do right now mean to you?
Yeah, it definitely gives me fulfillment I wouldn't have otherwise. Otherwise, I'd just be in my house, probably just watching YouTube. And so it helps me meet people. And like I said before, the thing that I wasn't expecting was I was been able to make a new network of friends I didn't have before, like Daryl, like Darth Fiddler, like Danielle Morel, and a whole bunch of other people I interviewed for Doct.
Okay. So I guess so we are done with the questions. Let's move on to quick fire. So a simple like simple I think a simple thing about quick fire.
Yeah,
You're just simply answer as many questions and quickly in under 90 seconds. Are you ready, Matt?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Okay. Okay. One word to describe yourself.
Uh, Energetic.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
outgoing. I'll change it to outgoing, actually.
Okay. Okay. What is your best filmmaking tip?
Like I said, just be flexible. No stuff is going to go wrong, and not panic. That's a big advice I didn't mention before. Is there's always a solution, no matter how dire the situation you're in is.
Okay. Best artist you love to listen to?
Oh, music wise?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a hard one. I like a bunch of music. I recommend people check out the band King Bob. I did a short doc on them. I'm biased because they're friends of mine, but they're really cool. They do sort of pop punk stuff based in Victoria.
Oh, okay. One everyday item you can't leave without.
Computer would be one, but also either my like Switch or Steam Deck for gaming, just because it's a good way to decompress.
Nice, nice. Mantra in life.
Uh, just appreciate your loved ones as much as possible.
Okay. Best place in BC to go road tripping or travel?
Ooh, yeah, that's a hard one. This is a lot. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of small islands around here that you can check out by ferry. That's cool. And also, people seem to like the road up to Tofino, and there's lots of sort of smaller towns you can check out that are cool and very distinct.
Okay, I guess we're done with quick fire. Let's do the screenshot.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So first of all, thank you, Matt. What are your feedbacks and do you have any feedbacks and comments for this podcast?
No, just thank you for having me. I wanted to ask you a few things about it, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Mhm.
The first question is, do you have this available on like an audio only version, like for example, Spotify?
Nope.
Because basically you're sitting on a wealth of content that I think you can get out more just by exporting the audio. And the good thing is, once you set it up, there's a program called, I believe, Spotify for podcasters. It might be named differently now. Once you set up your first episode, it'll automatically send it to other podcast platforms like Apple Music, for example. So it's a bit of work to get the first episode out. But then once you get the second, third, fourth, fifth, it's pretty much automated. So it's not much work. So I think there's a whole audience you could grab that's audio only who might be in the grocery store shopping or on the bus who maybe don't have time to watch half an hour YouTube at home, but they definitely do if they're doing laundry or something like that. Because like I said, you're sitting on a whole wealth of content, and I think you can really kind of um, get more out of the stuff you already have.
First of all, thank you for that advice. But that does come with a cost, right?
No, no, it's free.
Oh, okay. So and anywhere we can find you, Matt?
Yeah, just on Matt Enright Media, pretty much everywhere. And then I did have one more thing I think you should consider is,
Okay, go ahead.
again, because you're on this wealth of content, go and clip your episodes. Maybe, get 1 to 3 minutes out of each episode and put that on YouTube Shorts and on TikTok and on Instagram, because you get a whole new audience of people just on the bus kind of flipping through stuff. And it's a bit of it's something I was very hesitant against, but it really helped me get more viewers and just new eyes on it that I wouldn't have otherwise. And the beautiful thing is, you have all these episodes done already that I really think you can leverage and bring even more people to your main YouTube page. Because the whole purpose of doing those short stuff is driving people to your main page.
Okay. First of all, I mean, again, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt. So, okay, thank you, Matt, for coming to the Meetup Spot.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, Nige. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And if you ever have any questions at all about Storyhive or filmmaking in general, just hit me up anytime.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Thank you, Matt.
All right. You have a great day.
Bye.